Da 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 da. Da 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 da. I just want to make sure I'm coming through here. And then I will begin. Um, how do I even go to like my own? Here we go. That's it. Okay, here we go. So, so I haven't recorded an episode like last week. I think I missed last week. It's just been very busy, too busy. Um, Not for bad things, for good things. I'll start off with this. I updated my TikTok, so it's at that Wolf Johnson, which is different from this channel, which is the Wolf Johnson. Um, at that Wolf Johnson on TikTok, it's just wrestling stuff. It's just wrestling stuff. So if you like wrestling, if you like talking about wrestling or just any content, add me on there. And yeah, I'm sharing some of my favorite promos. I'm just throwing them up there and this, that, and the other. Okay. So what happened last week? It's been a weird kind of, it feels like, at least on AEW side, it feels like they're in a holding position. The past week, anyways. Not that that's bad. Things move forward, but I just really want to try and. Geez, I got something in my eye. Apologies. Look at this. It could be that, like that goo from sleeping. It's 3:19 in the morning. This is when I can. This is the time that I've slotted that I've been able to slot to record something here with you today. So last week, what are we talking about? We're talking about Dynamite, are we not? We're talking about Dynamite. We're talking about AEW in this moment. Uh, I went to Rampage and Dynamite and Rampage last week, live in Toronto. Uh, Not great seats in for Dynamite, and I'll discuss that in a moment. Rampage were fantastic seats. Before I talk about the wonderful time I had going to those live shows, I do want to talk about AEW and kind of where they're at and the consumer perception that I feel um, from other people and kind of how I see things kind of unfolding or where they stand, anyways. So, when you look at AEW television on a weekly basis, I feel like the most memorable segments are, at least the ones that I think about the longest, for me, are the things that are happening with the Ring of Honor World Heavyweight Championship right now. And that's a credit to Chris Jericho, Daniel Bryan, all the matches that he's having. Jericho, that is. The Garcia kind of storyline. It's really like more interesting to me than what is happening with the AEW heavyweight championship. Is it a heavyweight championship or just a world championship? More interesting than what's happening than the AEW world championship. You might say, well, if it's all on AEW TV, so what's the big deal? Well, the big deal is the show is called AEW Dynamite. And I don't say this as somebody who has any issue with Ring of Honor. I used to watch Ring of Honor all the time when, 2003, 2004. It got harder for me to watch over time as the competition or indies sort of get much better, like production values. I kind of moved away from Ring of Honor, but um, I really like the legacy of Ring of Honor. I think the brand has a lot of value. The video library is just littered with amazing matches. Um, and maybe that's what this is. Like a Jericho with the belt is finally giving Ring of Honor this big time mainstream angle that Ring of Honor, in my opinion, has never been able to materialize. Not to say they haven't had good angles, but this is like I don't know, on a different level with Jericho. The idea that he's desecrating Ring of Honor, that he wants to reduce it to nothing so that he can rebuild it in his own image. I like it's really it's interesting because it's bigger than one guy. It's the legacy of Ring of Honor that he is waging war against, which is more interesting, in my opinion, than what is happening with John Moxley doing his John Moxley shtick that I don't have a problem with. I like it. Love John Moxley. Right. But like him squaring off with the cowboy again, like good promos from both those guys, in my opinion. And I say good, like let's get it straight here, okay? I'm not speaking down. I won't be speaking down on wrestlers about their promos as if I'm in the business, as if I can do better. I'm not going to do that. But as a viewer, both of those promos, like Moxley's promo on Rampage, Hangman's promo on Dynamite, like I'm bought into the match. I'm excited to watch the match tonight, Tuesday night Dynamite, right? Um, yeah, like you got me. But that's not the story. The story is not what that match is. The story around that title is MJF and his absence in that match. What is MJF going to do? Is he going to do anything? See, the interesting thing to me with this match is not to see Moxley and Hangman have a great contest within the confines of the squared circle. Seen it, right? Seen great matches. I probably will see a better match than that. For all Moxley is wonderful with, I like his in ring vernacular isn't always consistent in, I don't know, captivating me. I could say I like Moxley as a character, so when he goes in, I'm rooting for him. But there are some wrestlers like Brian, for example, who through the course of the match, the language in which he, the pacing, the cadence, the fluidity and the story is told within the match, like it's more gripping. Maybe it's because I feel like Brian is a really hard hitter. And so when he connects, like every beat, I feel it like a drum beat, right? With Moxley, it feels a little bit sloppy. He doesn't feel as refined. He feels a little bit, this is all my opinion, of course. He feels a little bit to me like lacks an in-ring identity because it's chaos, but it's not like a specific kind of chaos, which would kind of negate the purpose of chaos. I understand, but when he was Dean Ambrose, right, when he was wrestling as in that kind of shoehorned, like foxhole character, sure, with all the limitations, but as a viewer, it kind of allowed me to understand what he was coming to the match with and the language that he'd be using. It's like if the Rolling Stones, no, let's say I don't want to call Moxley the Rolling Stones. I feel like that's offensive to somebody like John Moxley. He probably likes the Rolling Stones. Yeah. I mean, I don't have an issue with the Rolling Stones, but his, it's a little bit more violent. Rolling Stones is a more laid back kind of like good time, right? I would think. I don't know. I haven't listened to them that much. Um, let's say like if it's sort of like if Moxley is a punk rock band, right? And take somebody like who's a modern punk rock band? I don't know, Italian older, like the Black Flag. It's like if Black Flag uh, started making like jazz fusion and and hip hop all in one. That's what Moxley's in ring style in AEW to me feels like. Like it doesn't like it doesn't necessarily fit anywhere. Like he's how can I say this without sounding like an asshole? Like it's fine. Like it's just fine, but I don't feel like there's anything particular um in a physical sense that he's executing in a way that is always gripping me like some of the other uh talents for in-ring execution anyways, like in the creative sense, the flow of the match, where the direction, and I don't know who directs it, but the flow of Moxley Max matches are good. Like overall the experience with him as one of the storytellers is good, but the language used to tell the story doesn't grip me individually with Moxley as much as it does. And I'm just using Brian as an example. There are some other guys as well. But Brian, like he's more, for me, more technical. It's more logical in a lot of ways, which allows the consumer, the viewer, to kind of follow the match in a way that is somewhat predictable. And I know in wrestling, predictability is probably a dirty word, but in storytelling, you need a little bit of predictability in order to like connect with the character and empathize. Like the character has to be somewhat predictable. Um, and if Moxley has any predictability now, it's that from my experience viewing, it's like I can predictably say Moxley's probably going to have a match that doesn't resonate with me as an individual. And who cares what I think, right? But this is the Wrestling in Italics podcast with Wolf Johnson. So that's what we're talking about. Um, so that's not interesting to me. That match, Hangman is fine. Like it's almost the other way. Like I don't know if it's the other way. Hangman as a wrestler does not like. I don't know how to feel about Hangman. I just don't know how to feel about him. I think I like Hangman. I certainly like Hangman as an idea, but do I really sit well with his matches? Do I even like? Do I leave when I think I skim through. If I'm watching on PVR, I'm pretty sure I skim through Hangman matches. They always end like they always have spectacular endings. I'll say that about a Hangman match all the time. Until like now, like his last promo was great, right? His last promo was banging, dude. I am a man. It's like somebody made I read somewhere that it reminded them of Dale from Step Brothers having a tantrum. Now I can't shake that. I can't shake that idea because I really enjoy Step Brothers. I think there's a classic. Um, but yeah, Hangman being upset that he's not respected as a man. Is that a story that we can relate with? I think is it one that I can relate with? No, not right now. But I can see on a grander scope the like generational divide, from millennials and like the generation prior to that was it Gen X? Um, always talking down about like millennials and Gen Z, talking down. So it's like a fine vehicle to kind of harness that angst from millennials and Gen Z who are always being told that the generations prior had it right. They had the right idea. We was man back then. Man was man back then. And men's now ain't so much men's, but they is little boys. Like this kind of wild idea that like, he's lesser because he's younger, or maybe because he's a little bit more empathetic, or because he's aware of his emotions. And for that, I like Hangman taking. I don't know if he's taking it, but I like the framing of that. I think that's the most interesting aspect of Hangman is that he is aware of his like he's the millennial cowboy, right? So he's aware of his vulnerabilities in a psychological sense, mentally, which allows people to come along on a ride with him as he kind of exposes his own vulnerabilities, which then can be exploited by the heels. Mox is not a heel though. He can be a heel. He can be a. I think he could be a heel. Can he? I think he can. I think he can. Might have to be a little bit like dirty, right? He'd have to be a dirty heel. You get a little greasy. And even then, I think people would still be behind it because this is not the same crowd as WWE when it's just good guys and bad guys. Though, as I move into as I touch on going to see AEW live back to back 2 nights in a row, I'm going to talk about heels and faces and how the crowd responded and all that good stuff, right? All that good stuff, right? Uh, yeah. So right now, like it just feels AW on TV does not feel like AW on TV. There's a disconnect to me because the most memorable parts are Ring of Honor. There's just like what I feel like to be like lackluster. I don't want to say lackluster. It feels like lazy booking. If that's how I can put it. It feels like lazy booking. I know it's not lazy. It's just not what it's just not working for me. I think that's what it is. And I love AEW. It could be that there's so many guys missing from the roster right now that some of the stories kind of have to take a back seat, go on pause, and maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's one of the best ways to summarize this. However, like they get going on some of these angles, right? And then they'll just like you'll go like 3 weeks without seeing any follow up, which I think is okay if that's consistent throughout the entire brand. Like I don't want to have a feud. I don't want to have a feud on TV and the commentators, announcers, and the wrestlers telling me like this. There is like absolute hatred here. Like these guys are gonna kill each other. I want nothing more than to end your career, Christian Cage, and then go away for 3 weeks. Like what's going on? And then you don't. It's like if they're away, fine, but you don't. Do you hear about it in the in between weeks? What happened to all these like YouTube kind of videos that they used to have? Remember early days? Was this Cody? Was that all Cody doing that? Huh? Was that Cody doing that stuff? Because my goodness, it's just changed so much. Early AEW almost felt like a hybrid of UFC, like production. You know, they would have like these videos, these like highly produced, kind of shot differently, um, documentary style stories that would lead up to big events. They don't do that anymore. There is YouTube content that, they recap stuff, but like it's not the same. It feels like lesser WWE now. The more I talk about it, the more it upsets me. But this is a podcast, so I have to talk about it, right? I just want to sigh. I miss AEW's it's not the honeymoon phase either. It's not me saying like, "Oh, now you realize." No, it was different. It was different. They followed the ranking systems. They had like they would cycle people in and out, so you wouldn't have everybody this every week. You would you'd see like fresh faces. I'd be interested in tuning in every week because they would have alternating storylines. They'd have some stories this week, the next week, and that's kind of what I'm saying I don't like now, which is maybe is that hypocritical? No, because the difference is before it would be consistent. It'd be like, okay, you're not on this week, you'll be on next week. Back, they'd rotate like that. And maybe there's a bunch of stuff that I'm not aware of. I'm sure there is. But you can't convince me as a viewer if there's a hot feud and like it just goes away. You can't expect me as a viewer to come back 3 weeks later and then pick up where we left off with that same kind of emotional investment. It's just not a story that I can buy into at that point. You can sell me on a match, like, yeah, I'm watching for a cool match at that point, but not too many of these like rivalries that go on have much in ring, I guess you would say, heat. You know what I mean? Is that what I would say? I guess. Like, I don't know. Is that it? Does it be like in ring heat? It must be in ring heat, right? I don't know. But they don't have it. It's like if I'm, I don't know, if I'm trying to, I don't fuck, like, I don't even know what to say about it because I don't want to sound too down on it. Like, I still like AEW, but it is getting hard. It's just getting hard to want to watch it all the time. Anyway, shut up, Wolf. Get on with it. So, yeah, AEW feels like Ring of Honor, less like a diluted Ring of Honor or a diluted AEW. Why you have like your TNT champion teaming with your Ring of Honor television champion. They're a fine team, but you have fucking actual tag teams that you can do something with. Like why didn't you do anything with Brian Pillman Jr.? That guy was unreal in MLW. What the fuck are we doing here? You know, the more I say it, see, the more I get a little upset about it. Yeah, I shouldn't be upset though. Who cares? It's just wrestling, right? I'm not gonna get mad about it. I'm just saying, as a fan, you have actual tag teams. Like, flesh these guys out. Why is Ethan Page like? We just had a match. Yeah, but I haven't seen him in like a month. What the? You know, Lee Moriarty. Come on, man. What are we doing? Anyways, on to my experience at Dynamite and Rampage. So, Toronto, right? We're in Toronto. First of all, let me preface by saying Toronto has a very rich history with professional wrestling. For decades, wrestling has been a big thing in Toronto, and it's very rich in independent wrestling. The scene is huge. There's multiple promotions in the area. Uh, yeah, everywhere along these lakes, Southern Ontario. There's a bunch of promotions. So the wrestling fans around here get to see a lot of wrestling pretty much whenever they want. It's not always the big shows, but when a big show comes, these rabid wrestling fans come together and they go absolutely crazy. And they have this hockey, like Canadian hockey fan passion, loyalty to their guys, right? To their teams, right? So AEW comes both nights, Dynamite and Rampage. I'll talk about Rampage after. But the dark matches, when they had the local yokels, the jabbers come out. If it was like, I'll say for a match with Jody Threat and Athena in particular, you can go on YouTube now and watch it. They uploaded it for their AEW Dark. Um, the audience is not having Athena. Like, Jody Threat is a local independent wrestler with a name, two locals, and they were booing Athena and cheering Jody Threat overwhelmingly. Okay. And that's not the only time that happened. Like the Canadians love their local Canadians. That's it. That's it. So that was cool to see. Also, you see that throughout on Rampage as well. Like Rampage Dynamite when they had Jericho versus Bryan. People were not having Bryan when Jericho was there. Sure, people like they cheered Bryan when he came out, but when you got into the match, it's like no, this is Jericho's house. You know what I mean? The bunny from the Butcher and the Blade. Who else? Okay, Matt Menard, Daddy Magic. The place, like, he must have got the most consistent reaction throughout the night. As soon as he came out, Daddy Magic, clap, 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 clap. Okay, like, love it. Gotta love that hometown shit. But Dynamite, I didn't have great seats. When the tickets went on sale, I was sitting here. I had a laptop. I had a laptop out, and this computer out. I had another computer open in the corner, and like I had them all waiting to buy tickets. Right. I waited for the countdown. I was awake at like 7 in the morning. Like, okay, we're getting ready. So as it goes on, it's like as soon as the timer button comes up, like you have to wait in this lobby thing, and a button will come up and say enter the lobby. Soon as it appeared, boom, 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 run over that, boom, hit it. I'm like, what? I'm like 1,200 people behind everybody before I can even look at the tickets available. Son of a mother. What the right? So I'm waiting. Time goes on, like time's moving, moving, moving. By the time I get in to buy a ticket, they were like all gone. Like all of them are gone. And I'm like, what what are we talking about? All gone. We just got here and everything's gone. So wait, I leave. I go back. I go back like 20 minutes later. All of the tickets are back. Like all of the seats are now on sale. Okay. Let's look at these. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I want $500 for like just like a regular kind of like upper seat, like an upper bowl seat. Bowl. It's not a bowl. It's like a coliseum. But you know what I mean? Upper section. Not on the, like high up in the upper section. $500. Looking around, looking for any seat. They're all just like ridiculously priced. And I look, and they've been all purchased and re-upped by resellers. There's a couple like, floor seats or VIP sections where they were like $1,500 to $2,000 right up front. That were, I think those are just by the AEW pricing like that. But what a kick in the nuts that was. It's like now I got to deal with scalpers. So I'm like, nah, I'm not. I was like, maybe I'm just gonna hold on. I'm gonna see what happens. So I back out. I'm about to pay $500 for like a upper upper section, top of the upper section ticket. I wasn't gonna do it. So I go over to the Rampage tickets. I'm like, okay, well, let's see Rampage. I wasn't gonna go to Rampage. I'm just gonna do Dynamite. I'm just gonna do Dynamite. That's a good one. So I go to Rampage. Guess what? Like most of the tickets are available. So I grab 2 tickets there. Boom. Right up, like right just off the floor in like a very, like, I don't know how you'd say it. There's like 2 rows of seats. And maybe those 2 rows have like 5 seats in them. So it's your own like little section. And it's great. It's like you gotta, I don't know, like a stone's throw from the ramp. I could have thrown popcorn at the ramp. I'm sure of it. Uh, Close to the ring. So like that was $100. Okay, I paid $100 for those tickets. Well, each, you know. So I'm like, fine. This is a Rampage time for me. I'm gonna go and have the best Rampage time there could ever be had. Weeks are going by. I'm like, I'm a little disappointed. Didn't get Dynamite. I'm disappointed by that. I'm fucking with this mic too much. And then, we approach, and suddenly I'm getting excited for Dynamite. Like, okay, I mean Rampage. Okay, let's do it. Go. Let's fucking go. I go. I go online. Okay, I'm like, let's just see what happens. Let's check. I just want to see what we're looking at here. And what do I find? Dynamite tickets back on sale. Fascinating story, right? Well, the point is that some of the scalpers, I guess, had them and they just kind of started releasing them. Like maybe they lowered the price. I don't know what they do on that end, but suddenly there were some tickets available and they weren't great, but they were not $500. They were $80. And they were like, I'm like, whatever, $80. It's not a big venue. Can't be that bad. I got 2 tickets. Then I hopped out of that. Boom. Went to the Dynamite. Boom. Go to my seat. Worst seat. I say worst seat. Still not that bad. Because it's not a big venue. But I swear it was like the back. It was the last row. And like pretty much the last seat. Maybe there was like 5 seats. Like worse than mine. But it was the back row. All the way back. Kind of behind the stage. Actually directly beside the stage, and I was perfectly lined up with like the big screens that they have. The 2 screens on either side of the stage. I was beside one of those screens, and it was like head level, like boom, boom, boom. I was looking at the side of the screen, so I had to like lean to my left to be able to see what was going on there. And yeah, well, it didn't. I don't know. I didn't have a bad time still. Threw a couple cold ones down, had myself a slice of pizza, got some pizza, and said to myself, I'm at AW. This is wild. Hearing the audience reactions still come out. It was fine. It was an okay time. Rampage, though, was much closer, like I had mentioned. The dark matches there, like if you don't watch AEW Dark, I don't blame you, but some of these matches on this Toronto show, Dark, were bangers, like hard hitting, stiff. The crowd is hot. The crowd is hot because they taped Rampage on a separate night. And I don't think they normally do that. So when we went in, we had like, I think it was 2 hour. Wait. Yeah, we had 2 hours of dark matches, which to most people might be like insane to sit through. But these were good matches. Like they did not. I don't know if Dark is always like, because I watch Dark, but I don't necessarily feel the matches. But in this, and I watched some of them on YouTube, like you feel these matches. Hard hitting. They are like beating the shit out of each other. I was enjoying like the 2 hours of Dark flew by. And it wasn't all jobbers. Most of them were jobbers. Uh, they even had one guy who, when I was 19, tried to fight me in a parking lot because I was booing him at an indie show. And, I was making him look bad because, Wolf can talk that shit. Especially when I was 19, too. I didn't give a shit about nothing. Came by, spit on me. I remember he spit on me, so I spit back at him. We had we had an issue. He wanted to play heel, but he didn't want heel repercussions. You know what I mean? So they took me out back, and we had a little bit of a scrap. Him and one other guy. I was calling the action too. I remember. There was a fight, yeah, but it was two guys versus me. And when they started teaming up at me, I started calling the action. Oh my god, a double team! Because I didn't care. Like, you're not gonna shake me, dude. Okay, slam me down. Needless to say, I don't think I was allowed back, so I didn't go back. And yeah, that was the end of that. But he was there as a jobber, still a jobber. Hey, it's Laozi, my guy here in the Twitch chat. If you're listening on the podcast version, how are you doing this morning, Laozi? Blimey, morning content. Is it morning for you, or is it morning for me? It was definitely morning for me. It's 3:53 a.m. where I'm just talking about going to this AEW Rampage. Both brother. Let me tell you something, brother. I got to tell you a thing about this, that, there, and the other. Um, I was just telling this story about how an indie wrestler was one of the jobbers at Rampage, and when I was 19, I got into a fight with him in the parking lot because I was talking that shit on another level. You know what I mean? Like, you wanted to, especially when I'm 19, you were not fucking with Will Johnson, okay? I got a mouth. I was the mouth from the South Ontario. This guy came around and spit on me. I was making him look bad. I was cutting promos on him while he was doing rest holds from the front row of the crowd. He came around and spit on me. I spit back. And he swung at me. And I was wearing this black lucha mask and a shirt that said I'm with douchebags on arrows on either side of me. So I was there with another guy who was dressed the exact same as me. We both had black lucha masks, shirt that said I'm with douchebag with arrows pointing at each other. And we each had kendo sticks. This motherfucker spit on me. So we did the old Dudley Boys routine where I stood up pretending to swing at him and he was holding me back. I was the Bubba Ray, the other douchebag was holding me back. And I said, I'm going to get you. I'm going to get you, Jake O'Reilly. You watch your back. This isn't over. Brandishing this kendo stick. And security came and took me away. Security. It was just like some little teenagers that came. It's like, you got to go. I'm like, okay, I'll go. I was cool with them. I'm like, I get it. Like, I'm getting too much heat. I'm getting over on you guys here. I can't make the territory look bad, okay? I'm not here to do that. I'm here to have a good time. I just thought you were a bunch of professionals. I guess not, though. Why would I expect professionals here at the Cambridge French Club? Okay. Building that holds maybe, like, I don't know, 300 people. I don't know. Maybe more than that. I don't know. Maybe a little bit less. So I go back. I'm leaving. I'm just like going to my car. I'm like, okay, here I go. Guy goes, hey. I turn around, it's Jake O'Reilly. I'm like, yo, what up? Ready to square up with this guy. This guy, like, he must have been like 28 at the time. This 19-year-old kid with a kendo stick. You wanna fucking do this shit? So not only him though, like he comes, and this other guy, I think his name was Reggie Jackson. He's a big dude. Come on, Jake O'Reilly swings at me, punches me in the face, like. I'm just like, okay. So I go to shoot on him, and then this other guy, Reggie Jackson, grabs me, and then Jake O'Reilly starts feeding me shots in the face, and I'm calling the action as he's doing it, my guy. Okay, I'm saying, and they double team him. The douchebag's getting double teamed. Oh my god, this guy's like laying shots into me, and then he slammed me down. Reggie picks me up and like slams me on my back, turned me around into a body slam on the concrete. Okay, and I just got up. I was still calling the action as they walked away. And I wasn't invited back. That's that. But so Jake O'Reilly was one of the he was one of the guys uh, Rampage, one of the local yokels. I would just sharpen that mother. You, Jake O'Reilly, it was just dead silent. You suck, Jake O'Reilly. You hit like a girl. Then like he didn't do anything, and then I saw him like see him like kind of like looking around like he was silent. Fuck him. OG Backlot, bro. That's right. They didn't know I had SmackDown versus Raw at the time. They weren't ready for the smoke. I wake into promos. Life is a territory. That's why you're like the best rapper. You're the best rapper, Lou. Your vernacular is hip hop. Life is a territory. I wake into promos. That's a wonderful thing. I've also got this is recording as a podcast, so I better find out what I was going to talk about it because I forget. I don't know. It's 3 a.m. I'm just going to say that. 3 a.m. Yeah. Okay. So Rampage was a better show. Rampage was a better live experience. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I don't know why. I think it's because the dark matches, like, and that this goes back to my point at the beginning of the podcast when I was saying AEW feels like it has an identity crisis because they oversaturate the show with Ring of Honor stuff, and the Ring of Honor stuff because of Chris Jericho is more interesting and fascinating and memorable than the stuff that's happening with the AEW championship. This is fucking AEW TV. Okay. Why don't I see like why are the angles with AEW championships not grabbing me like this? You have the tag team championships with the AEW fucking belts, okay? Their big angle is that this rival team who just came off like dark matches hasn't really been doing shit has a manager who trademarked their catchphrase. You can't say your catchphrase anymore, tag team champions. We want a match. Meanwhile, you've got teams like with Brian Pillman fucking Jr., okay, doing nothing, who've been working for like 2 years, getting booked with bullshit, and you're just going to bring up two random guys that nobody cares about to challenge for these belts. It's just like astonishing sometimes, you know. Like, not to say that the show's not entertaining, like the matches are like, they're good. Matches are really entertaining. I'm not gonna lie. The vibe is good. The matches save AEW because like the booking is so lazy, nonsensical. Like Cody, when Cody left, everything changed. Everything fucking changed. Okay. I just don't know how to feel about it. I enjoy it because the wrestling is really good. It's better. I like the promos. I like the content of promos in a vacuum. But when you start chaining them week to week, it kind of turns into like, what's the point? You know? And this is not the same issue of WWE having like disconnected angles week to week. It's just that there's so many guys on AEW's roster that from week to week, you'll go from a really hot angle, then you won't hear about it. You won't hear about it. 2 weeks later, you remember this hot angle? Well, no. Like you can't bring me back here with the same kind of emotional investment that you had with that promo. You had this hot promo 2 weeks ago. And you had me then, and now you want to bring me here? What are we doing? Come on, man. I don't know. Like, they've got ROH as a separate entity. Yes, like ECW was in WWE. However, the difference is it's entirely different. It's technically a different company. Like it is registered as a different legal company. There's actually different contracts. Some wrestlers can be contracted under both. It's moot point, right? For the most part, they're going to be on. Tony Khan owns them both. I think he wanted the video library. And the thought, I think, is that he will keep Ring of Honor presence on AEW TV because he's trying to get Ring of Honor a television deal or a streaming deal or something. So in order to keep the brand relevant, got to keep him on TV. That's why like Chris Jericho is a great kind of ambassador for that, to put a lot of mainstream eyes and attention on Ring of Honor, the Ocho. And the matches are unreal. If you can watch any wrestling match, Lou, or if you decide to, which I know you will not, um, the Jericho matches, he's doing the best work of his career at like 56. So like whatever his age is. I think he's just 50. He's doing like top rope ranas. It's just crazy. Unlike Vince, who tried to sabotage ECW at every turn, he's trying to add value to the product. Yes, he is. The thing I like about Tony is like he's an actual wrestling fan, and he has like love for the integrity of professional wrestling. So he's always like throwing compliments to WWE and stuff like that, saying like, "Oh, this was good. That was good. Oh, I'm Tony Khan. Well, this is a great show. This is a great show over there." He doesn't talk like that. He just used to wear glasses like that. He doesn't now. But yeah, he's trying to do something with it. Like he put the belt on Joe and Jericho, TV belt on Joe, which is absurd. Samoa Joe is not a mid card wrestler. I don't give a shit. Okay. He should not be fucking around with a mid card title. You need to put that belt on somebody like uh I don't know, Lee Moriarty, Daniel Garcia, They had it on like Wheeler Yuta. That's what you gotta do. You gotta. But I don't think by putting it on Joe, you're making the brand look stronger. I think actually by putting a mid card title on Joe, you devalue Joe, who is a Ring of Honor. I think he's contracted for Ring of Honor, but you devalue Joe, in my opinion, by putting a mid card title on this guy when you could use that title to add value to somebody else, like a Lee Moriarty. You know what I mean? Like, come on, guys, shit. You know what I mean? But as well, Tony Khan is doing like Ring of Honor gets their own pay-per-views. He's keeping their pay-per-view schedule alive, and on those shows he's bringing in like other talent that he can't show on Ring of or AEW TV for any number of reasons. And they're good shows. They're good Ring of Honor shows. My point is like the drawback to this in the interim is this cross section of issues where you have a loss of talent with Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks, who are like they were like their top guys, are on suspension because of some bullshit. CM Punk was maybe like their top draw, suspended because of some same bullshit. Yeah, MJF, who's like he's the only one cutting promos right now that are worth anybody's time. Jericho's good at doing like the sports entertainment segments. MJF is destroying everybody in promos. I don't think there's a better person right now in the world with promos like MJF, who's conveying that old school sensibility where like it doesn't feel like MJF is playing a character. And the content of his promo, his most recent promo from Dynamite, was it Dynamite? I don't know if he had one on Rampage, but the one from Dynamite, that's like some Ric Flair level shit. Like some OG NWA level. Piper was not there. You know what I mean? Like the old OG Piper level shit. Pre WWF. He's got me. He's got me enthralled in his individual journey as a character. That's a promo. makes me want to see more MJF. That's the promo, you know. He he simultaneously details a personal struggle while which is like internal, while also uh carving out for the viewer these external challenges, these problems, these things that he wants to triumph. He'll deal with this. He has to create his own biggest enemy within himself because nobody else is as over as MJF. So he creates himself as like his biggest kind of motivator and arc enemy. What would I say? He's his own biggest enemy, but he wants that belt. It's no question to me. Like this, that's the most interesting story is MJF on AEW side, but the shows are littered with Ring of Honor stuff. But the MJF storyline is like it's no question, I think, to anybody that MJF is going to get that GD AEW title. When he gets the shot, it's gonna go with him. Like that's the direction you have to go. And they better F and do something with my guy Moxley. They better turn him heel or something leading up to that. Because MJF is going to destroy John Mox. John Moxley is revered for his promos, but he's at this point now where he's a franchise player. He's no longer like he's lost his edge, in my opinion, to some degree, because it's not necessarily that the content of what he's saying is different. It's that the auxiliary things, like his in ring performance, is kind of soft when you put him in there next to a guy like Brian. And that hurts the sincerity of the promo when you put those things side by side. Where MJF is entirely like, he doesn't claim to be the toughest guy. He claims to be the smartest guy. He claims to be the best. So he goes in there and he wrestles, he cheats. You don't expect him to be hard hitting. Expect him to be methodical and smart. So when MJF gets the opportunity to cut up John Moxley on a promo, if they do an in ring, that might be the end of it for old Mox. You might start seeing Moxley come out and hustle, loyalty, respect t-shirts. After that, you got to do something, death match or something. I don't know, something where Moxley will like, how do you save Moxley? How do you save anybody from MJF on that microphone? I don't know. But again, the point is AEW's titles seem pointless. They don't seem that important. Ring of Honor's titles seem important. But this is AEW TV. And yeah, I don't love the brand right now. I like watching AEW, but I think that's it. I think that's what I end on. I like watching AEW, but I don't love the brand right now. I'm in fact more intrigued with what Triple H is doing with on Raw, even though it's a bit more cartoony and goofy. I'm interested in seeing these moving pieces. Like I really hope they over on the WWE side. I hope they do something about this Judgment Day faction. People like, oh, Dominic plays this great heel character. I don't care, right? Like, he's still just like he's so good. He just like looks like a schmuck. You know what I mean? Like you got him in there with like Rhea Ripley and Damian Priest and Balor. They're all like hard hitting, strong people. Balor's small. He's the smallest one. He looks like the brain. The rest are a bunch of pinkies. Does that make sense? It's like a Mighty Mouse little guy, right? And not that Dominic can benefit from looking kind of softer and young and like a kid. He's impressionable in that sense. But I don't care, you know. He's fine, but I just the whole faction seems it just feels thrown together. What are they actually there for? I think that's the main thing. They don't really have like true identity. It still feels like Edge's faction. I don't know. It doesn't feel like Balor should even be there, to be honest with you. He's not the strong leader in that group. Damian Priest looks like the leader, to be honest. I think you could do something else with Balor. Balor is great on his own as a heel or with the right people around him. Like he would have been fantastic with Gallows and Anderson. How's he saying? I might have re up on the network for a Survivor Series. Dude, War Games is Survivor Series. That's what we're talking about. We got a War Games match finally on the main roster for Survivor Series. So I'll be checking that. The problem is like NXT, like the last Survivor Series where they had NXT. Remember those triangle matches they had? The triple threats? Maybe you didn't watch at that time, but it was NXT, SmackDown, Raw, and they had each of those like a representative from each brand having triple threat matches. And like those matches were great. And they were great because NXT's roster was fucking amazing at the time. You know, the roster that is over at AEW now doing nothing. Yeah, they were amazing. You watch those, yeah. Adam Cole winning? Come on now. Damn. Yeah. But it's interesting now. They got AJ and the Good Brothers have realigned to have a little squabble with the old Judgment Day faction that I was referring to. That doesn't make any sense, in my opinion. Doesn't make any sense, in my opinion. You know, um, I like that. I like that they brought back I love the Good Brothers. Big fan of the Good Brothers, mainly because how could I say it? Like their podcast, Talking Shop, just their promos. I hope they give them promos. Give Carl Anderson the microphone and just let him be. They don't have Vince McMahon there. They still have Kevin Dunn. What does Cornette call him? Bucky Beaver. What an ass. Yeah, but let Carl Anderson go out there and just be himself. You know, maybe a little bit PG, fine. But let him and Gallows be goofy, kind of fun, badass MFs that like they were in Japan, like they were in Impact, like they are on Talking Shop. Give them the Talking Shop podcast. Come on now. Let them just be, dude. Have some cocktails. You can't, you know, don't say they're drinking beers. Say they're drinking no juice. PG it, dog. All right. Couple no juice for the Good Brothers. What? You watch those. It felt like they let the underground in with those builds. Yes. Yes, the outsiders. NXT now is effing not my thing. It's just not my thing. I don't know what it is. Who cares what I think? It just feels too like it feels tarnished. They're trying to take it back to where it was, and it just I don't know. If you haven't, Lou, maybe watch like one episode of NXT just so you know, like not to watch it. I don't know. Times have changed from like those takeover shows. Could they fill in? Here's the thing. I don't know. Could they fill an arena with NXT today? I don't think they could. Maybe, but I don't think they could. Remember that Enzo coming out? Come on, guy. Are you fucking kidding me here? Like, let me see. As a guy who's super over. That's why. Let me see if I can find something. What did I see here? Share video, share screen. Let's NXT Takeover 2018 entrance. No, not 2018. That's too late. 2016 entrance. Takeover Brooklyn. Here we go. Oh, do you remember Bailey and Sasha Banks? Hanger. Entrance. Here we go. Tyler Breeze. Is that going to be the one? It's hard to find like a takeover entrance. That is, I know what it is. It is. Wow, they took all of them down. Sami Zayn, right? Is the one? You, you can't find anything on YouTube. This might be it. Oh, they cut out the entrance. Okay. Screen share has no sound. Okay, well, fuck it. Okay, just say, go find Nakamura and Sami Zayn. You know, and then you'll find out what we're talking about here. NXT used to be unreal, like on a different level. Goosebumps, yeah, the violin. Oh my gosh! Before anybody heard that entrance song comes in, and if you watch that match, it's kind of like a standard Nakamura match, but like the energy that was in the building and the hype from the very, they didn't even have to fucking build anything. They didn't have to build to that. Nakamura came out, like they put a video on the screen after a Sami Zayn match, and it was just Nakamura saying, "I'm your like I don't know what he said, but he basically said I'm your opponent." The crowd built every match. That's it. How you doing? Yeah, I don't know, man. What are they gonna do? But now it's like now the average like there's hype too. Oh, we're bringing in indie guys. We got Kevin Owens or like Kevin Steen's coming in. Kenta. They just drop the ball so hard with Kenta. Like Balor. He was doing okay. When Balor first came in, they had that guy red hot. Main roster. He got hurt. It's his own bad. He came out of the main roster hot. But you know, now they don't do shit with him. But like that feud with Kevin Owens and Balor, fantastic. Good stuff. That's good wrestling right there. That's good wrestling, boys. Okay. Everybody on NXT was just better. Except Baron Corbin. Nobody. Elias used to be called Elias Sampson. If anybody remembers that. Baron Corbin used to be a biker. Vince McMahon was always a pervert. So it should be no shock to anybody. The Drifter. Elias Sampson. Jeez. Velveteen Dream. All right. People like there's people watching NXT today who have no awareness of Velveteen Dream. None. Velveteen Dream, he got dinged for, like, I don't know how what happened, but like there's a scandal that he sent pictures of himself to a minor, or he's trying to solicit pictures from a minor. So I don't know. And there's like EC3. You remember that guy? He uh he put out this like video promo shooting on Velveteen Dream, saying how um in 2016 he had a party and Velveteen Dream set up in his bathroom like his cell phone camera aimed at somebody like at the toilet. And Velveteen Dream has come back and said, "No, that's like obscene. That's stupid. Wouldn't have done it." But like the Velveteen Dream would, right? Because wrestling is real, right? You know. So there it is. That's what happened to him. I would love to see him wrestle again. So why he's got a little dinky out there? I mean, no, that's fucked. That's fucked. That's very fucked. But this, like, also Austin Aries. Like, remember Austin Aries came in for a minute. He had his WrestleMania match. He was great. He really suffered a great deal to his reputation based on how he acted after WWE. Velveteen. I don't know who else was there who was notable and kind of amounted to nothing. But Velveteen Dream on the main roster would have been the show. You know what I mean? It would have been the one. He's like a new Goldust. Those mind games and stuff. But like Goldust in his heyday, OG Goldust was a bad motherfucker. Okay, the ultimate heel. You know what I mean? Can't be stopped. Can't be stopped. Yeah. I'm sorry to disappoint you, Lou. It's my bad. I've done everything wrong in life leading up to this, and if I did better, Velveteen would have done better too. You know. But for your comfort, there's a silver lining, and that silver lining is that Big Cass is in AEW as W Morrissey. You know. So there you go. It's everything you've always wanted, big ass. He's there. Stephanie's still alive. I think they still hate vegans. I don't know. Sami Zayn, though, I just got to say, before I wrap this, Sami Zayn is the only reason I watch SmackDown. And I don't even watch it live. I PVR all of SmackDown just so I can go skim through and find Sami Zayn. And I turn it off. This is the funniest shit I've ever watched on wrestling. He's like the MVP right now of wrestling, Sami Zayn, in his antics, his body language, how he interacts with Roman Reigns. I might make November wrestling month after Halloween month passes. Oh, I thought it's Christmas already. Dude, if you do wrestling month, dude, tag me in, dog. Got you. There's a lot of stuff going on in wrestling. But the Bray, okay. Do you know about the Bray Wyatt thing? Can I tell you about the Bray Wyatt thing? I got to talk about the Bray Wyatt thing. I haven't talked about the Bray Wyatt thing. So Bray Wyatt comes back. We should do a relapse convo. We should, dude. I'm in for that. I'm in for that. Um, let's plan that. So Bray Wyatt has made his return. They had this. Are you familiar with anything that's happening with Bray Wyatt? Anything? Bray Wyatt? No. Okay. So anybody listening on the podcast, Lou knows nothing, or Leozzi knows nothing about Bray Wyatt. Okay, don't hate him. Okay, he's lapsed. Okay, so the past like month, they started doing these like maybe 2 months at live events. They would between during commercials, they'd play Echo and the Bunnymen's. What's that song? Feed your head. Jefferson Airplane, right? What's that song from Jefferson Airplane? White Rabbit. They'd play White Rabbit. The lights would go out. They would play the acapella of White Rabbit. And then at the end where it goes, feed your head, the lights would go red. And then they'd go back to the show. Only during commercial. This did not happen on TV. People are like, oh, are they testing an entrance? What's going on? They're testing an entrance. They did this like all month. Then they had like a QR code. Well, they would litter like small things happening in the background throughout the shows on TV. Contextual things that may or may not have anything to do with Bray Wyatt's kind of return, but we don't know yet because it's still leading up to this. So there was like QR codes just kind of in the background, like on a door that you could be like, oh, it's nothing, right? It's nothing. But if you scan the QR code, it take you to like this website. It's like give you coordinates or something, or it'd be like a puzzle game, or there's this hangman game where it's like this bunny kind of jumping across the letters, and uh, it start knocking off letters, and it was losing, so the guy's getting hung because it's lost. The first letters they pick spelled demon, right? Spelled demon, but that's not the answer. So they X out the demons, and then the answer to the hangman game was who killed the world. Who killed the world? Whatever. People are like, well, what the fuck does that mean? Next week, it'd be like a on the graphics for like the pay-per-view, one of them in the very background, there'd just be like a lantern hanging. But it was photoshopped in so that you wouldn't really see it. It's like kind of. And people are like, well, is that anything? But it was only on one match. It wasn't on all the matches. It was on one of the matches. But the other graphics didn't have it. But people were just like, could be nothing. Next week, another QR code or just like a kind of thing happening. Week after that, there's like a guy in the background, casually just walking by. You might not see him, but he's wearing a bunny costume, a white bunny costume, white rabbit costume. Off he goes, just on screen, off screen. More QR codes pop up. Boom, coordinates. Or there's like coordinates to a city that they're not even going to, but they go to a city, and there in that city there's a record store called White Rabbit Records. Or if you Googled it, there'd be a company called White Rabbit Records, a record label. They actually registered this business. Okay. This business is an actual registered business. Is it owned by WWE? I don't know. Quite possibly. Coordinates to another place. It's like Wyndham. It's fucking Wyndham, whatever the state is. Town called Wyndham. People are like, oh, it's Bray Wyatt. Then they started doing some more teases where like more word games or like things, anagrams, whatever. And then it was like lyrics from Aleister Black's theme. So they're like, oh, is it Aleister Black? Then Meltzer's like, yeah, it's Aleister Black coming out. Aleister Black, you dumb shit. He's with AEW right now. He's under contract. Come on. So Extreme Rules ends. There's nothing. Extreme Rules comes. It ends. It's like, oh, nothing happened. It's the very end. Riddle's walking out from the end of his match. Like he's leaving. Lights go out as he's about to leave the arena. Lights go out. It's like no time left. Like time is up. Spotlight shoot into like the arena, the crowd. Boom. There's like a guy dressed up like a Wyatt. Who's the buzzard guy from the House of Fun thing, basically Wyatt's original character, and then like Husky Harris, like the pig guy, and then like Sister Abigail. But these are they're not the dolls; they're like people dressed as these in these characters. Then there's like a flash, like some kind of severed head on the announcer's desk, and I think that's one of the characters. Maybe it belonged to somebody. I don't know. Maybe it represents Vince McMahon because the boss was a character. So that severed head could be that. And then it flashes through, and then it flashes on the Fiend in the crowd. And everyone's like, oh my God, there he is. But then there's a door in the aisle and the blue light shining through it. Light goes off the Fiend back to the door. Door opens. Then this guy in this new mask walks through. It's kind of like, I don't know how you would describe this mask. It almost looks like the V for Vendetta mask, but monotone. So he comes in and like more exaggerated. Comes in with the lantern, pulls the mask off, and it's Bray Wyatt. Blows out the lantern. You can't hear what he's saying. Blows out the lantern. Okay, fun. Like, okay, Wyatt's back. Great. But then on SmackDown, he comes out. He comes out to new music. It's the same entrance, like the dark lights and stuff. And he comes out with his lantern. He blows out the lantern, and he's just dressed in like normal dude clothes. He is not in character. Or is his character Wyndham? Is his new character not in character? You know what I mean? So he comes out. He's like, "Thank you, everybody. I've been gone for a long time. Yada yada yada. You kept me alive. Like I've been going through some hard times. I've been a lot, struggling." He's explaining his internal struggles, developing empathy with the crowd. People are like, "Yeah, we love you, whatever." Then the lights go out again, and on the screen is like is a guy in the mask that he debuted with, talking about like, just give up, just give up. Like you don't know who you're dealing with. There's no hope for you. Life is over, kind of thing like that. And then it ends on that face. Show ends on that. Well, no, it doesn't end on the face. It cuts out, and then it shows like this logo of the upside down moth. It's basically Wyatt's logo. So we're left with this thing like Wyatt as if the story is Wyatt himself is about to feud with himself. There's a number of different ways that this can go, but how can I say this? One of the thoughts is that, and I like this idea, that there's going to be different wrestlers representing each of those characters, like the Buzzard guy, Sister Abigail, the Fiend, who will play those characters, representative of Bray's former self. And if he's going to feud with those people, that's very interesting because he's feuding with himself, right? But is it going to be? It can be a couple things. It can be like take her versus take her, kind of, but different. So let me get into this here, kind of, but different. Like it could be that this story is kind of metaphorical in a way that if you ever seen Wes Craven's New Nightmare, that there's like the actors from the original Nightmare on Elm Street movies are the main characters in Wes Craven's New Nightmare, but they're not playing the characters from those movies. They're playing the actors that portray those characters. But it became such a cultural phenomenon. Freddy Krueger became such a cultural phenomenon that it became real. And then Freddy Krueger was now tormenting these actors and actresses, killing them. Is that where this is going? Because that's fucking cool. But what I think might be a little bit more tangible for the long run because you can take these characters elsewhere outside of that realm. Because yeah, I think you could only do that if you're just feuding directly with Wyatt. It just wouldn't make sense. What are you gonna do after? Have them in a tag team tournament? Like that doesn't make any sense. Or and it's dumb. But I think another thing that would be cool is if because they've been teasing this thing about Wyatt Six, the Wyatt Six being a six, meaning each one of the personalities, but also a faction. And the interesting part about this is the speculation that these characters have already been like these wrestlers are already there. They're already on the roster and they're descending. They're either descending into that or they're kind of in on it because Dexter Loomis is kind of rumored to play one of these characters. Dexter Loomis is the serial killer guy who's randomly just showing up and terrorizing the Miz, but he comes and he disappears. Comes and he disappears. Not Mandy Rose, Liv Morgan. She's like this. She's a women's champion, like a baby face. And she was originally the aesthetic is like Harley Quinn. She has right, like the face paint stuff like that. But there was a promo where somebody was in the room when she was kind of on her own, and she was like in pain, and she started descending into madness. And the thought is that maybe she plays the Fiend. I think that'd be fucking cool. And there's another guy who's also like a cult leader. His name is Joe Gacy. Obviously, obviously, you can already guess the kind of character he plays and what he looks like. But he's like a cult leader. So the thought is like he could be like the Buzzard one, right? The Buzzard guy, or the Rabbit. I don't know, one of those guys. The cult leader. He could be a device that Bray has been using to plant seeds, or whoever the guy behind the mask is to plant seeds, and then Bo Dallas coming back to do something within that. I think that's the interesting part is that you have like this, who knows, like maybe 6 month long, you could really drag it out thing where you reveal each member of this faction that Bray will have to kind of contend with. Because like the music, if you listen to his new entrance music, there's part of it that is it's optimistic in a way. It's like optimistic in a struggle. Whereas like the Fiend music was heavy and hard and gritty and just like dark, without question, darkness. And the old Wyatt music, which I still think is the best, mysterious. But this new one, there is some light and there's some darkness to the delivery of Bray Wyatt when he comes out to this. It's not all darkness. There's humanity in the music, which I think like there's some life to the music, which I thought was absent from the previous entrance songs, which isn't a bad thing. It's just that's the kind of character they're going with. But if the music is any indication on where they're going, I would think Bray Wyatt had some say on what kind of music he's going to use for this. I think we're going to see a lot more dynamic storytelling in the absence of Vince McMahon and a long form storytelling. So I don't know. A lot of people don't like his new music. They want him just use your old music. Yeah, but you're like you don't get it. Okay, there's a difference. There's a difference between like people who just watch wrestling and people who are like watch other stuff and wrestling. Like I watch a lot of wrestling. Not to like say in a negative connotation that people who just watch wrestling, but you're missing out on the context that these sort of auxiliary assets you attach to your wrestlers can provide. This story, now, Bray's story, has never been interesting to me in the pursuit of a championship. I don't care if Bray Wyatt ever has a championship because his story is like he's cultivated this interesting way for you to get invested in his life story. Sorry, Husky Harris, and he ties them all together. There's no loose ends. You know, this is the more interesting than the belt. You got Roman out there; he's doing great, and I am interested to see what who can take his reign from him. It won't be Sami Zayn, will it? I would pop huge if it was, but I don't think it will be. It's got to be like The Rock or something. Uh, Bray is an abstract metaphysical idea, now a wrestler. Yes, that's exactly it. Like, I'll tune in to watch the match and the promos for Roman Reigns, but I want to see all of this Wyatt stuff. Like, I'm deep diving. I go on YouTube and be like, what is this? And somebody will add context that I've missed. I don't do that for anything else in wrestling, you know. But yeah, that's the Bray Wyatt thing. So it's interesting. It's definitely interesting what could come of it. And I like if Liv Morgan is playing the Fiend, because like they did the thing with Alexa Bliss, where she was like under control of the Fiend, where she's possessed. But like Liv Morgan wearing like doing the Fiend character, I think that is an interesting reboot on that idea. Have like without sacrificing the integrity of it, making it goofy. Alexa Bliss with a stupid doll. Um, as a wrestling fan who is also a David Lynch fan, Bray is the perfect character. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. Like it's intriguing. It can intrigue somebody who is not just a wrestling fan. You know what I mean? Like it's a wonderful thing. Like, all right, it's now 4:44 a.m. I gotta wrap this up, dude. I gotta maybe get an hour of sleep. Doubt it. Who cares, Lou? Thanks for joining me here, Laozi. Thanks for tuning in, anybody on the podcast. And yeah, I'll catch you another time. Catch you another time. On that Vinnie Mac sleep schedule, I am. No rest for the wicked. And that means I might die sooner than some of us. But Vince is still alive, yeah. All right, peace.